Billiken fans? It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. This is the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hammer those like and subscribe buttons. Of course, this episode and the whole season of the Midtown Madness is brought to you by Two Men in a Garden. Not only is it Billiken season again, but as we head further into fall, NFL season is back. And, college football is too. Because some people in St. Louis, we don't watch the NFL anymore. But what goes great with football on both Saturdays and Sundays? Salsa. Whether you like it mild or hot, chunky or cantina style, the people over at Two Men have you covered. You can pick up their many products at any local grocery store or online at twomeninthegarden.com. Follow them on socials at Two Men Salsa on Insta and Twitter. Pete, the Big Guard episode, it was great. I had so much fun. I thought, it's weird sometimes because when you bring in, guests, you don't know what the rapport is going to be. And I thought the rapport between us and Moan was just awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I tend to, when we're outlining these things and I get in the notes, I tend to overwrite the questions. Part of that is for my own edification, I want to make sure that I'm not forgetting a detail in a question. But this was a case, I think you said it well, of ask a question and just kind of let them run with it. And on the fly, we were typing back and forth to each other, like, all right, skip this one, skip that one, circle back to this one, trim that one. So we kind of, we don't have a producer, peek behind the curtain here. You guys probably aren't surprised to hear that, but we do make adjustments like that, So I thought that was really good. I thought he's a great talker, really interesting guy. It's interesting to catch him at the relative infancy of this project. It seems like he's got really big ideas for it. And it sounds like there's a lot of SLU content on the way, which is great. I mean, the response to that Yuri video has been universally positive. SLU fans have been lapping that up. So I can't wait to see what else he's got in store for us. And I love that he's St. Louis based.
Yeah, I think, like I said, it's just, sometimes you just got to let them talk. Like, let somebody talk. Keep talking, because if you're quiet, they'll keep finding new things to talk about. And I think our listeners really responded, and Billiken fans responded to this episode in a big way. Our listens don't change that greatly, not numerically speaking. But this one did really, really well, especially for not technically in basketball season yet. Mm-hmm. Usually it's around 150 to 200. And we got 175 audio, and I'm talking audio only. We got 175 audio only, which is good and normal. But what I really liked is what tells me that we're putting out something that people are interested in is how quickly we get up to those numbers. So we had 100 within the first 12 hours of dropping the show. And I think that really tells me so much more than the numbers. I could care less about how many people listen. But on YouTube, we had about 85 too. So those are the numbers that I actually do pay attention to. When people go to YouTube and they watch it, I think that's huge for us. Because it's very, it's a smaller demographic that will go to YouTube and watch. But again, thank you to all the listeners and Billiken fans for checking that episode out. If you haven't yet, seriously go back and listen to it. This isn't just me promoting the show.
Yeah.
This is me saying he put out a great product. Support somebody putting out a great product that's local and covering the Billikens like us. And go listen to what he has to say, because it's super interesting for any and all Billiken fans.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this also is a signal that people are really excited for this upcoming basketball season. I think anticipation is really high. Practice is now underway, and people are excited for this season.
Yeah, and what a lot of Billiken fans that are golfers are excited about is the new apparel partnership announced by St. Louis University Athletic Department. Pete, who's the next merch brand to join the squad?
Yeah, so the next partnership that SLU is doing, as you know, they've done Arch Apparel, they've done what help me out, Zach, the Nike replica jerseys
Yeah,
for the first
Nike.
time.
They did
Um,
Arch Apparel,
home
Home
field.
Field.
Yeah,
The slides,
yeah,
the
that's right.
shoes.
So in the last year, SLU has really branched out in its apparel offerings. This one is Peter Millar. And for those not familiar, bear with me. This is just 4 sentences.
It's not
Uh,
a mixture of our two names, by the way.
no, it's that did not occur to me. It's close. It's close, but it's AR. But anyway, Peter Millar was founded in 2001 with a single cashmere sweater. Through this initial I know. Through this initial garment, an ethos emerged to embody luxury, elegance, and a dedication to superior craftsmanship. Today, the brand has grown to include luxury performance sportswear, seasonal resort apparel, refined tailored clothing, and sartorial accessories. Each offering features the finest raw materials and fabric innovations while utilizing the world's best yarn spinners, artisanal workshops, and highly specialized factories. Basically,
Pete, I'm gonna need you to define sartorial for me. Use it in another sentence, please. Thank you.
Sorry, define that would be what a relating to clothing. Yeah,
That's so
but
pretentious.
so basically, this is golf clothes.
Yes.
To just like put it in the most concise terms possible. This is like high end. I don't know. I don't know what's high end, and I'm not a golfer, but they do a lot of partnerships with college conferences.
Yes.
Or individual colleges. You can go to their website, and I'm just gonna click on the ACC. I'll see what they have for like Notre Dame here, and you're gonna find quarter zip pullovers, a woven belt. You're gonna find a couple like crew neck pullovers, a lot of golf shirts. To give you an idea, just a regular
Things you would see in the Grove at Ole Miss.
Sure. Yeah, that's right. I think Southern Country Club is kind of the idea, or I guess maybe any country club. But it's also like as I read the description on their About Us, like what they're all about, you could tell they're going to charge you a little bit of money for this stuff. Like a quarter zip is going to run 165 or so. A golf shirt, a regular like polo style golf shirt, it's going to be about 120 to 140. So this is definitely like they kind of know who their market is here. Like I guess they figure people who golf probably have some expendable income. And I know people, friends of mine, I guess, who play golf or like to look like they play golf, who swear by this stuff. Like they absolutely love these. So this definitely has its audience, even if it's not necessarily me.
One of the neat little like kind of random things on their website is if you go to like find your team, and the Billikens will be the first Atlantic 10 team, but all of the logos are like they're like vectored patches. They're all patches. Like the logos, like instead of just like just a I don't even know what the regular version would be called. Instead of just a regular logo, the logo has like texture. It's patch texture. It's super. It's just kind of a cool little thing that didn't like. It's a little subtle addition that says, "Hey, we're luxurious." I think I'm looking at Creighton obviously because I think we kind of are on the same plane as them as far as the type of people that go to the school, the alumni base is similar, I think, in a lot of ways. As far as we're both Catholic schools, right?
Sure.
And there's these hoodies. There's like the Creighton Pine Performance hoodie. Looks like something I'd be interested in. The Lava Wash hoodie. Their hoodies are nice. I really like them. I don't know if they're $165 nice, but I'm gonna have to figure that out.
Yeah.
But it is very funny. Just the whole Peter Millar ethos.
Yeah.
Is pretty funny. Just the way they're branding themselves.
So I do want to point out that we are technically not the first A10. If you're looking by conferences, you don't see the A10, but if you go to their website, go to the game day tab and go to all teams,
Whoops.
and you'll find that that VCU,
Mm.
George Washington, Davidson, and Dayton are on there as well. And I'm looking to see if anybody else is. So we're not the first in the A10. It looks like we'll be first half. Yeah, that it looks like we'll be about fifth in the league. But regardless, they do have a lot of other college stuff in there. And if you're looking at Davidson and Dayton, I mean, there are, gosh, I mean, for Davidson, I think I just counted 21 different items. For Dayton, I'm counting 22. So there's pretty good variety here.
Yeah.
Like some of the other rollouts we've done have been smaller lines than this. So if we can expect kind of a similar number here, I mean, look for about, possibly up to 20 different things once we get going with him.
That's a cool like $3,000.
If you buy the whole lot.
Yeah.
That's a good point. But hey, that's cheaper than a country club membership, so you can look the part without without paying for it.
On a more charitable note, I guess we'll call it charity. I don't know. SLU is hosting the Getter in the Game fundraiser at 5 p.m. on October 13th at Lorenzini's. Now, I always remember this being the Getter in the Game luncheon, but it seems like it's more of a dinner this time around.
Mm-hmm.
Pete, why don't you kind of run us down what exactly this entails?
Yeah, so it is more of a dinner this time around. They're having it at 5 p.m. on the 13th, and that'll be immediately followed by SLU Women's Soccer hosting Rhode Island, which is a 7 o'clock game. So they're rolling one event into another, which is pretty cool. But this is a fundraiser to support athletic scholarship opportunities for female student athletes at SLU specifically. You can go, it's a $75 registration fee. And then for anything that they raise in the fundraising section, the first $25,000 do have an anonymous donor that's matching every dollar up to the first 25,000. So you can go to the official website, slubillikens.com. You'll see a link on their homepage, and you can register there if you're interested.
Pete, is this like a national like brand get her in the game, or is this like just a SLU thing?
That is that's a good question, and a quick Google search reveals that it's pretty much a SLU thing.
That's interesting.
It
It's a cool brand. Like the branding seems a lot like way better than something that like you would put together. I don't know.
I like it, but yeah, literally the first Google result is SLU athletics. So yeah, and then other than that, it leads to like different gaming website links. So I probably thinks I'm looking for something else. But yeah, it seems to be a SLU specific event, but pretty cool fundraiser nonetheless. And at the very least, $75, and then you head to the women's soccer game right after.
Pete, are we talking about practice?
Practice,
yes.
We're
talking about practice, not a game.
Not a game.
Not a game. We're talking about practice, because practice is officially underway. The first one was held on the 30th of September, Pete. We're getting there. We're under, I think, 45 days now.
Yeah, we're within the new rule. I think it's 42 days from your first game, but you have to take so many of those. Like you can't practice on every single day. You get to practice a certain amount of days out of that first one, but regardless, we're within the window now. Everybody's basically started practice in the last 3 or 4 days. And it's really exciting to see them in full practice mode again. Social, it's definitely a fun time of year to watch social media and kind of over scrutinize every single player and what he's doing. And not a whole lot of information so far. I think Stu Durando gave us a few tidbits. One that Kellen Thames probably won't be a backup point guard, but might be playing more of a forward. And that he's still growing. I think it's pretty interesting. I think they're determining, like, they think he's still growing. They think he's already 6.5 feet tall. And if he's going to be 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", something like that, I think they kind of do have to look at more of a forward role for him. But I love it because, his whole career, he's built out more of a guard skill set. So he has matchup problem written all over him, and I can't wait to see how he evolves. But we all know he's a really lean young player at this point. So he's going to have to build out his frame for sure. But regardless, I mean, I think it's pretty exciting.
Pete, one thing that I think has been overlooked or maybe forgot about with having the two open practices and scrimmages, I guess open scrimmages, is Billiken Madness or Midnight Madness or whatever you want to call it. It used to be the first practice. Now it's just kind of almost just an open practice with a little more fanfare.
Mm-hmm.
Are you hearing anything about potentially having one of these this year?
Whispers that there will be something, but I nothing concrete yet. It's just one of those things I would tell people to kind of keep an eye on. I don't know if you're hearing anything more than that.
No, but I think with uh, the 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 excitement, every people are looking forward to seeing the team. You've got Yuri Collins, who Perkins coming back. You got all these things that are these storylines. It would be a shame to not try to harness that excitement in a practice, a Billiken Madness type situation.
I would be surprised. I mean, I don't know what form it will take, but I would be surprised if they don't have something, at least one more thing for fans to come out and check them out at least once. I'd be surprised. I don't know either way, but I would expect something.
We're just a couple of MBMs.
What do we know?
I know. Pete, in your realm, recruiting new offers are out for 2024.
Yeah, and I really like both of them actually. I think just at a high level, I wouldn't expect to see a lot more 2023 offers anytime soon. I think we've got a handful out right now. I don't know how committable any of them are, but on paper, because we have so many upperclassmen who are technically eligible to come back for another year or more, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot more activity in the fall in that class. Just to kind of like set people's expectations. I think they really want to wait and see till the spring who's coming back, who's not, how many scholarships do we actually have to work with? Because if you book up your last scholarship right now and you don't know what you've got in the spring, it kind of gives you not a whole lot of flexibility with that 2023 class. So that's just one thing to keep an eye on. So 2024 is where we're seeing the activity now. First offer was to a guy named Ibrahim Kaba, who's a 6'7" wing out of New Jersey. He goes to Gill St. Bernard's High School, private school up there. He played this AAU season with New Jersey Roadrunners. He considers himself a shooting guard at 6'7", which at his size, I mean, that makes him a real matchup problem at both ends. He's a good scorer. He can create for himself, create for his teammates. He's got a nice looking shot and has NBA range on it. SLU actually offered him on the same day as Florida Gulf Coast. His only offer before that was Lafayette. So this is another case of SLU being in on him early in terms of offers. But there's a lot more schools kind of buzzing around right now, showing interest in him. So he's got a big opportunity to make a leap this season. The other one's to a guy named Lathan Somerville. He's a 2024 big man from the Skill Factory Prep School in Georgia, although he transferred down there from Peoria, Notre Dame. Peoria is where his parents are from. He mostly grew up in Europe because his dad played pro ball over there, his dad being Marcellus Somerville. Some SLU fans will recognize that name from his Bradley playing days. His mom is Brooke Petty, was her maiden name, played at Illinois State. So he's 6'10", 240, really big, broad guy. But growing up mostly in Europe, he has a lot of that kind of Euro big flair to his game. So you'll kind of see him shoot like a floater in the mid range or a fadeaway or something like that. He can kind of shoot the three a little bit. He kind of passes out of the mid high post. A really unique player because he's so big and beefy, can bang down low. And then he's got those little kind of finesse things in the mid range game. SLU is not necessarily in early on this one because he's got offers from Xavier, Rutgers, Mizzou, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, SMU, Bradley, UC Davis. But nonetheless, he's got a ton of interest. And I think You know, he's even though he's prepping down in Georgia, he's a Peoria kid, and I think SLU's got to recruit the area. And then a guy like this is a really unique player, so I love the offer.
Um, there was a nice little article on Francis Okoro heading into this season. Pete, did you get a chance to read this, and what'd you think?
No, you know, I haven't had a chance to read it yet, so why don't you give us your summary?
Yeah, no, I mean, my reading comprehension has taken a hit since I graduated college, but I thought it was really nice. It was interesting. I didn't know that his mom has never seen him play, like in any form, any way, shape, or form, which blows my mind.
I remember hearing that or something like that when he was at Oregon, or when we were talking about him as a transfer. But I guess I hadn't thought about that in a while.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is on that same like believability scale of like Hassan French never lifting weights before college, like
Yeah,
that like
right.
I don't like. It's just wild that you like. It's funny that we're talking about it like that because what 10 years ago we struggled to find streams for away non-conference
Oh
games.
yeah, oh yeah,
I mean, and now we're like hemming and hawing that somebody hasn't watched their kid play in any way, shape, or form.
yeah.
It's kind of funny.
I think
But
we always have to keep that in mind with these international players, you know, like who come over here, even for like he did for high school and everything, like just how much they're giving up to pursue this. I think that's just a level of like sacrifice and being out of your comfort zone that we can probably take for granted.
I think one of the things that went maybe unnoticed, especially by me last season, was the emergence of Okoro. What did you see in him from last year that improved greatly by year's end?
So I think it was just his consistency more than anything else. I mean, I think he got healthier and stronger as the year went on. And I'm, you know, hearing going into this year that he's calling himself 100% for the first time in a while. You know, people might forget that he did after, or like he had a couple nagging
That's why
injuries
he
at
sat
Oregon.
out.
Yeah, and then he was in a car accident and was hurt. And yeah, that's right. That's why he sat out a year. He opted to, even though he could have been eligible right away before. Um, that's why he sat a year and played last season. I really think it was just a consistency, though, Zach. I mean, watching him in the beginning of the year, it was clear he was still kind of learning the system, getting comfortable. And by the end of the year, you see him doing all of those little things. One of the fun things, like I'll take it back to that big guard video, watching how often Okoro immediately got into position to seal off the lane for Yuri or another guard going to the lane. He really knows how to do a lot of those little things down the stretch in conference play that you might not see as much in non-conference. And when you're a big and it's not the glamour position anymore, you know, it's become more of a guards game, more of a perimeter game. And when you're a traditional center like him, you've got to do all those little things to make yourself that much more valuable. And that's really what I saw from him as the year went on. It was just like you could just kind of bank on him as like kind of a 10-8 guy who does all the little things to help out his teammates. And he hits free throws, which I will never take for granted for a big man.
Uh, I I'm listening to you talk about Okoro and finally being healthy and all that good stuff. And what I'm hearing is a Conklin summer because I think what people forget about Conklin, and of course I love the myth of like or the
Sure.
pseudo myth of the Conklin summer that he just worked so damn hard and improved his game. But if you recall, he was hurt the year before that Conklin summer.
Mm.
Like and so I mean that's what I'm hearing now is that he came back and he was Conklin was healthy going into his senior season after having that. I think he had high ankle issues is what I remember. Or
Yeah,
yeah,
that sounds right.
and then he comes in his senior year and he's perfectly healthy, and then he obviously had a great year. So I think this is a candidate for a
No,
Conklin summer.
yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I'm hoping that the main thing that I want to see him, well, not, I don't know if this is the main thing, but one of the kind of like sneaky important things is cutting down on his fouls.
Hmm.
When I'm looking at his game log right now, and you really do see his points increase over the course of the year. You do see his rebounding production in the last month and a half is really nice. Um, but I do see a lot of like 4-3, 4-4, 3-3, 4-5. Like he fouls a lot. And I'm hoping part of that is just a guy who is maybe getting a little tired, who is maybe trying to cut corners a little bit, who can be a little more solid, a little more straight up and down, a little more patient, and all of the things that you need to be to not get in foul trouble. I really hope that's a point of focus for him this offseason, and this now that we're in practice season heading into the year. I don't know if there's anything else I'm missing, but that's a really key thing for me with him this year, because he's our number one guy at the 5.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how he progresses, and the idea that he's completely healthy is very exciting.
Yeah.
I joke a lot on this podcast that I really don't know anything. My knowledge base is like apparel, and like I know enough to be dangerous about every sport we talk about. But one thing I really know absolutely nothing about is NFTs.
Yeah.
And what came out this past week was that Yuri Collins has inked a deal with basically an NFT, a digital collective NIL deal. Or collectible, not collective. I apologize. Do you have any freaking clue what this is? Because I see NFT or I see crypto, and I mean, I'm not saying it's I don't even want to say it because I don't want to tie it to Yuri, because that's not fair to Yuri, because I just don't know.
It's so I think probably, for old people like me, the way to think about it is like a digital trading card. And there's a
So it's
lot
like
of
a
people,
Pokemon.
kind of, yeah. And a lot of people will joke like, well, can't I just right click and save?
Yeah, yeah.
But
I'm committing a heist by
there is
right
sort of
clicking and saving.
there is like another layer of tech to it that makes it a little more complicated than that. And these are a little bit different. If you buy one and you might get something else in the mail, and you might get access to, like, a lot of NFTs now are not just about the non-fungible token digital image or whatever you're buying, but they're about what else does that unlock. Like sometimes it's the ability to buy concert tickets first if you buy this Justin Bieber NFT before anybody else does. It's branched out into so many different things very quickly. I don't know a whole lot about this world. I kind of stay out of it. I do have a
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have a friend who bought a couple of them, and for like $30, and bought a new MacBook with the proceeds of the change in value over the course of like 3 weeks. He basically bought it cheap, cashed out at 2 grand, bought a MacBook, and went on his way.
Good for him.
It doesn't always work out like that.
No. Well, okay, so here's what I'll say. And I think it goes with, like, again, I'm not a financial advisor, and you should totally not take any financial advice from me or from any influencer on the internet. Just saying that before we get going.
Yeah.
But what I've heard, what I've been told, or what I've watched on YouTube about these is, if it's like going to the casino, man. Just like, if you're not comfortable with that $30 never coming back to you, like, don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Or whatever. If you're not comfortable with that, the amount coming, like, if you're comfortable with letting it go, like, yeah, sure, if that's really what you want. But like, don't get into this kind of stuff with the expectation of profit.
I think that's right. And I think in this case, if you're going to buy one of these, do it because you're a fan of his and want something unique that, like, you have. So to kind of explain what he's got here, Verified Ink is the name of the company. I've seen a lot of college athletes roll these out in the past few weeks. And what he's selling is called an AR card, an augmented reality card. Um, personally designed by Yuri. So I think a lot of them, like, rather than just being an image, it's like a series of images. They say that from their website, it says 80% plus of the proceeds go directly to him. I don't know what would make it 80 or 85 or whatever. I don't know, but that's how they worded it on there.
What's the plus? I don't, like, that's so weird.
Yeah, I know. So, but at least 80%. So there's an extended edition. There's 100 available for $20.
Is there a holographic Charizard?
Now you're getting into something maybe my son would know more about.
That was Pokemon.
Yeah, he's just getting into Pokemon, and it's really annoying. But
I'm so sorry. My condolences.
Yeah, please. This is where I come to get away from Pokemon right now. So there's an extended edition, 100 available for $20 each, and out of this, 84 of them are called common, 12 are called rare, and 4 are legendary.
I mean, they just stole that directly from Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon.
Or
like,
just
that's
trading
literally
cards.
yeah.
I mean, that's from like Upper Deck, Tops.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah.
Clear, where you have like more limited cards that pop up every once in a while. Same principle. There's also a launch edition with 10 for $100 each. On the website, it's grayed out, so I'm assuming either these sold out already or maybe it unlocks when the others sell out. I don't know, but it says there's 10 available for 100 each, and those are more limited. So if you know anything about this world, if you're a Yuri fan, might be something worth looking into. If you put in just Google Yuri Collins verified ink and it'll pop up, and I don't know, it's kind of interesting to poke around with.
It is yeah. And I think it's funny because we've literally had documentaries come out in the last like 2 years talking about the sports card market and how it just absolutely it doesn't exist. Like
it's going in some really big waves.
Values. Like they had made so many cards, and I think it's interesting that they're trying to maybe recreate the original idea of trading cards, but like in a digital platform. So yeah, it's interesting, and I would say go check it out. Just go check it out. I can't say buy or not because that's not my decision. But yeah, go check it out. Support Yuri just by even going to look at it. On the women's basketball side, practice also officially underway. They started on the 1st of October. More importantly, though, with the recent weather events down in Florida, the Gulf Coast Showcase may have some hurdles to jump over.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is not. We're not pretending like this is the most important thing. That is fallout.
No, we're telling you. We're telling you 100% it is.
Right. But yeah, this Gulf Coast Showcase that was going to start that will start with SLU playing Baylor in the first round. Has a bunch of great. SLU's going to get some really good competition in this thing. It's scheduled for Thanksgiving week in Estero, Florida, and if you know anything about Florida, that's
and we found out I don't.
Yeah, this is right across the river from Fort Myers, basically, and that's right where the eye of the hurricane hit. Hertz Arena, where the event's going to be held, was a site for evacuees in the area to go get somewhere where they could stay dry and have access to water and electricity and stuff like that. But even that place wound up with leaks in the roof. So there hasn't been any official word on what's going to happen with the event yet. It is under 2 months away. So this is just kind of something to keep an eye on because of the level of just devastation in that immediate area. It's going to be, at the very least, it's going to be a lot more difficult to stage this event than it would have been before, whether it comes to transportation, accommodations, everything like that. And it's not, you look at the website of this event and it's beaches and palm trees and everything looks perfect, sunsets and sunrises and everything. And it just, no matter what, is not going to look like that when they're down there in a couple months, assuming the event is still held there and in the time that it's supposed to be. So something to keep an eye on the women's side, and hopefully they can get this event together in one way, shape, or form. And it's just one of many ripple effects of this hurricane.
Yeah, it would be nice if they could maybe, if they get this event to go off without a hitch, that maybe have the teams do a little community work, or I don't know, get out and help in some way in that community. I know it's
Yeah,
kind of a weird subject given that it's not like a pro team and it's college kids and all that good stuff. But
sure.
Hertz Arena, I believe, is the home of the Florida Everblades. And I think it's more of like it's not like a Scottrade, more of a or an Enterprise Center, more of a like a family arena type place, or a Chaffetz size arena.
Okay. So like more of like a 10,000
Yeah,
rather than
it's
a 20,000. Yeah,
yeah, like a hockey and like indoor arena football
sure.
type place. But
Yeah.
um, speaking of football, Pete, it goes great with football.
What goes great with football
Actually, it
is
goes great with hockey too, because hockey season's back as well.
that's right. That's right. Well, it's salsa, and if you're like me and you miss your hometown team, like the Blues, which are about to start up, and by the way, baseball playoffs. I think I'm even more excited about those right now.
Ooh, it's red too, salsa.
You're going okay. You're going one connection too far there, I think. But the thing that I love is because I was reminded the last couple weeks just grabbing a salsa from my local grocery store shelves. It's always kind of I've never really settled on one that I love, one that I'm happy with, and I have to remind myself that even though I'm not in St. Louis, 2 Men in a Garden has $9 flat rate shipping anywhere in the continental U.S. And if you know anything about what's going on with shipping rates these days, I would take advantage of that if I were you. $9 flat rate shipping is a big deal because it is costing an arm and a leg to ship anything anywhere anymore. So, get on their website if you're not local and go to town, honestly. That's a great shipping rate, and you're going to get something that's probably better than what you're going to find at your local grocery store. So that is at twomeningarden.com.
Pete, the women's soccer team continues to absolutely light the world on fire, or at least light the A10 on fire. They just continue to roll. Number 11 in the United Soccer's coaches poll, 8 by College Soccer News, 9 by Top Drawer Soccer. Pete, this team.
Yeah. Yeah, if you listen to us that we love them, but it's funny these rankings now because they've reached that height where you're not rewarded every time you win necessarily. They win twice and they drop a spot in the coaches poll, dropped a spot in the Top Drawer Soccer poll, and they jumped a spot in College Soccer News. So those 8 and 9 rankings flipped. And the coaches poll, they went from 10th to 11th. And honestly, this week, playing George Mason, who's a bottom half A10 team, even beating them, I don't know if that's that's probably not enough. It's probably not, they're not going to drop much, go up much. They're just kind of where they are for the time being. But Zach, this was a fun one. 3-0 against George Mason, and I think it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, first of all, I would put fall in St. Louis up against any weather anywhere in the continental United States. Absolutely gorgeous day on campus. 3-0 win against George Mason. This game wasn't even close. I mean, they were just screwing around with George Mason after a while. I mean, there was maybe a 5-minute like length of time where it was like watching the Globetrotters play the Generals. I mean, they were nutmegging, they were running around. I mean, it was just insane. This was an absolute shit kicking from the opening whistle. Scoring got started in the 7th minute. Caroline Kelly from Emily Groark and Anna Lawler. Groark passed it from the end line to Lawler at the edge of the goal box. Absolute cheeky flick on. I actually thought it was Groark who made the flick, but it was just, I think it was announced weird in person. And it found Kelly wide open in the box. Just a gorgeous goal. 33rd minute, Hannah Sawyer from Emily Gaby. Slew had a goal called off right before this one, and it should have been a goal. Pete, it was hard to see in person. Kind of run down.
Was this Carson? Was it Carson Cole who had the header? I can't remember who actually had it, and of course it doesn't show up in the box score, because it's called off. But I think it was
Yeah.
her. So there's a header, and they called it off. I think they said it went off her arm. I didn't have the volume up on my feed. I was trying to get ready for actually my son's soccer game. But on the replay, it looked like, so she went up to head it and her arm was right behind her head, and it was a clean header. It just was an awkward angle, and the line referee called it like off her arm, a handball. They called it off.
I thought they called offside on it, but the ball, like when it hit the post and then hit the goalie's back and then in.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. It hit the post and hit off the goalie and ricocheted back, like just trickled back into the net. So it wasn't the cleanest. But I could have sworn it was the arm that because like on the replay, that's what they kept going back and forth on. They really slowed it down, like as she jumped up. I mean, I actually have not read the recap on this game. I don't know if they cover it there necessarily. Maybe I could be wrong on what it was, but that's really on the replay what they were emphasizing on why that was called off. And to me, that was a goal. It didn't go off her arm. But I don't know. I mean, so somebody correct us, correct me if I'm wrong on that one.
Yeah, I mean it's a goal regardless. At the end of the day, yeah.
I think that next goal was scored 20 seconds
after
that happened.
It was right off
it was almost immediate.
The free kick.
Right. So it almost didn't even matter. We like if the first one counted, we wouldn't have even had time to score the second one by the time it happened. So anyway, I guess in the end it all worked out. But it was kind of a shame the first one got called off.
81st minute, Jess Pricer, cross was cut off by the goalkeeper, but she was unable to corral the ball. Pricer banged it home the rebound. And talk about the goalkeeper for George Mason, Peter. How many shots in this game for the Pelicans?
Well, okay, just to start out, she had 16 saves to 1 at the other end. So Piricelli had 1 save on the day to 16. So this girl was busy. 42 Billiken shots, Zach. 42. That's a season high, and that's 5 short of the single game record of 47. That's hard to do. Like when you think about a 90-minute game, and actually, is that single game record? Is that from a regulation game or is that an overtime?
I believe
game?
It is. I think it's UT Martin, I want to say.
Okay, yeah. I mean, thinking that through, you wouldn't go to overtime with a team you're getting off that many shots with. But yeah. Anyway, that's probably a stat that goes back to those early days of the program.
Yeah,
I think they put a 12-0 win on somebody at one point. And I think it was UT.
That was UT Martin. I don't think it was the. I don't think. Okay, shots. Well, actually, that was a Herman Stadium record. Today was a Herman Stadium record.
Wow.
40 was the OG record, or the last record, set against Bonaventure in 2021 and Rhode Island in 2018. And then game records, shots, 47 against Western Illinois on October 12th, 1997.
Wow. So, yeah. So there you go. The program's in its second season at that point.
Yes.
Which means most women's soccer programs are in their infancy. So you wind up with crazy stats. So 42 Billiken shots, 1 for George Mason. Now they kind of made a count. They did put it on goal. So it's only 19-1 in shots on goal, 11-1 in corners. And then, like I said before, Mason's keeper had 16 saves to 1 by SLU. Fouls, Mason had 14 to SLU's 9. Again, Zach, though, I mean, this could have been 4 or 5 at halftime. It could have been a lot worse in the second half. This we talked about this before. As dominant a performance as this is, as much as they were just kind of toying with a team that they outclassed in every single regard, 3-0's kind of a pedestrian score for just how many shots they had in this game. That's just they're not an efficient scoring team. I think I think I texted you at one point they could use Larson's kind of
Yes.
clinicality and of finishing up there, but they don't have her right now. Regardless, I mean, this was a whooping, but man, it's kind of a lot more fun when you see a result like that Missouri State game earlier this year that was 7-0.
And Hannah Larson, I don't think we have mentioned it. One of my sources said that they do expect her to be back at some point.
Okay.
It's not a season ender, from what I understand.
Well,
But
and it's definitely a situation where if she's going to come
again,
back,
not speculating here.
yeah,
I'm giving
but
you
but that's the kind of, you don't want to speed up her timeline
not
so
at
that she
all.
can play against George Mason.
No.
Like they've got and we'll get into this, but they do have a couple teams in this conference that are a lot tougher, and you're going to want her healthy for those and not necessarily the bottom of the conference.
We mentioned the stats. 19 shots on goal for the Billikens, 1 for George Mason. 11 corners for the Billikens, 1 for George Mason. 14 fouls for George Mason, 9 for SLU. Saves, George Mason 16, SLU 1. Coming up next is UMass on Sunday the 9th. Second straight week with a full week of rest between games. Pete, run us down the standings since we're in A10 play now.
So interestingly enough, SLU's 5-0, and they're technically in second place in the league right now because Dayton has played an extra game. Dayton is 6-0. They're 12-1-1 overall. And interestingly enough, and I checked this before we started recording because I wasn't quite sure, Dayton is not ranked in any of the polls. So 12-1-1 and 6-0 in conference, and yet they're not getting any national attention for it. I guess it's one of those things where they kind of snuck up on people. Their tie is against Toledo, and their loss is to Ohio State, which was a 4-0 loss. So there might be kind of a strength of schedule thing going on here where maybe they I know they haven't played quite the schedule SLU has, but it's a team you can't overlook when they've got that kind of record. And these two teams are pretty much running away with the conference, because after SLU you've got VCU at 3-0-2, UMass at 3-1-2, Fordham at 3-1-1, Davidson and Duquesne are tied at 3-2-1. St. Joe's has 1 win, no losses, and 4 ties. Yeah, which is weird.
A lot of sister kissing in that one.
Loyola Chicago 2-3. GW and Rhode Island.
Brother kissing.
Okay, there you go.
Jesus.
GW and Rhode Island are both 0-3-3. GW actually lost to Dayton 6-0 last week. LaSalle's 1-4. George Mason is now 0-3-2, just like Richmond. And then Bonaventure's bringing up the tail with a record of 0-5-1 in conference. Now, overall records, most of them are pretty pedestrian, kind of middle of the road, a lot of kind of 500-ish teams. Mm-hmm. Davidson is 10-2-1, but both of their losses and their tie have come in conference. So they were undefeated on a weak non-conference schedule, basically.
I think Fordham's almost the opposite of that. 4-7-1 out of conference, but
that's right.
They're sitting at
3-1-1,
which it depends on who they played. Honestly, again, it all depends on who you play and in what time. You can look good in the front of the season and then look terrible by the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is it's coming down to SLU and Dayton.
Yes, and mark your calendars, folks. It's going down October 16th
in Dayton. Yeah, unfortunately for St. Louis fans, that's not a home game. We really, it's crazy. There are only 5 regular season games left, and the next one, like we said, UMass on Sunday the 9th is on the road. Then SLU plays 3 out of the 4 last games at home, and like we said a couple weeks ago, these are all the games thereafter. All of the A10 games are at campus sites. So if SLU can beat Dayton, they're probably going to lock up home field for that A10 championship, and Dayton on October 16th would be their last road game for a long time, including maybe into the NCAA tournament, depending on how things go there. So they have a chance to really lock up home field for a long time if they can take care of business the rest of the way in conference here.
Let's look at the men's soccer team. Don't look now, but they're now 4-0-1 in their last 5 games, Pete.
Yeah, you love to see it after a rocky start. You know, they played a tough schedule too. I think it's a schedule that wound up being maybe a little harder than we even realized it was going to be. But it's also a team that lost a lot of their scoring punch, lost a lot of their star power, and completely kind of reconfigured the roster. But regardless, things are starting to come together, I think, Zach. And they got a nice 2-1 win over a former conference rival in Marquette on Tuesday night.
Yeah, 48th minute, the scoring is opened by Johnny Klein, redirected a low centering pass. 63rd minute, Marquette got it back. Abdul Karim Pare, somewhat of a carbon copy of the Klein goal on this one. Low centering pass and directed into the back of the net. 72nd minute, goalkeeper comes out, punches away a corner kick. John Klein with an absolute cracker of a right foot volley on this one, Pete.
Yeah, I love this shot. And it's one, it was there was a lot of traffic in the box. And from the side, it didn't look like he necessarily crushed this ball. But he did, like Zach said, I mean, it was a clean volley. And he found a way to get it through. And yeah, 2-1s. Slew's got the win, both goals off of Johnny Klein's foot. And it's so funny to see him go from the nation's leader in assists over to a goal scorer. Yeah, he's his role has really evolved, and that's been fun to watch this season.
Shots were Marquette 9, Slew 8. Shots on goal, Marquette 4, Slew 3. Fouls 19-10 Slew, but Marquette had 3 yellows to Slew's 2. Really a close game in this one. Not much separating these two teams other than a goal.
No, and I find that to be pretty common if you're just looking at the stats in these men's games this year.
2-1 win to open up conference play against Loyola on Saturday, October 1st. A little bit of a nervy start for the Billikens in the 14th minute, Pete.
Yeah, Oscar Dueso got one for Loyola, and this wound up being the only goal of the first half. Slew just was kind of having a little bit of trouble getting any momentum going in this one, and conceded the early goal.
47th minute, CJ Coppola, assisted by Seth Anderson. Anderson got in deep on the left side, let his pass go from just inside the box. Coppola lunged forward to finish in traffic. 61st minute, Johnny Klein again. He got credit for this one. Well, okay, so fine. He got credit for it, but it's an own goal.
Not just an own goal.
This was wonderful, Peter.
This is I played this for my wife. So I was watching, because all of a sudden you texted me, somebody else texted me. I guess everybody was on Twitter at once on Saturday night or something. And I was actively watching it as people were tweeting at me. My wife was getting our daughter back down to sleep. She comes down and I'm like, you got to see this. And she made me play it 3 times in a row because she was laughing so hard. I haven't seen like you call it a blunder, just a straight up sports blooper like this in a while.
It really was.
I mean, this was brutal. So the defender, the Loyola defender.
I'm gonna pull it up here.
All right, you're gonna put it on.
I'm gonna do it. Yeah.
So our YouTube watchers get to watch this one as we break it down.
It was absolutely. It was a complete and utter disaster.
Yeah, so this is why you always pressure the keeper, by the way. So it starts with a little pressure from Slew. It looks like a pretty harmless pass back from Loyola's defender. And Loyola's keeper is kind of on his heels and stumbles and falls in the most embarrassing way I've seen. And the ball slowly trickles by him into the goal. 2-1 Slew. John Klein gets credit for that. Bless his heart, and that's all Slew.
Yeah, I love his jog and little hop to get the ball. Just it's like when you like trip in public and you do the little do the little run.
Yeah.
You do the little jog, like nothing happened, I'm all good. Yeah, that's what he did. But after it was over, I mean, just
brutal.
Absolutely. I mean, Sports Center not top 10. He dove headfirst like he was in a 1980s rain delay at a baseball
Horrible,
game.
just horrible. I mean, like that. I can't imagine how many times he's replayed this in his head, and like how many things had to go wrong for that to happen. It just looked like a routine pass back. He's gonna settle it. Nope. Like just every single thing that could have gone wrong after that did. And wow. I can't tell you the last time I've seen something like that.
I think I really hate to see that from somebody wearing 00. I got a soft spot for the 00s out there, and you hate to see a 00 have that happen to him. You really do.
Oh God. Uh
It was reminiscent though of Spain and the Euros.
yeah, that's the first thing I thought of actually. And this wasn't necessarily a stumble, but it
Just
was
feet got tangled.
I think this was a semifinal game that Spain ended up winning. Was it quarterfinals or semifinals? And their defender hit it way too hard back to the goalie, and he wasn't quite ready for the speed at which it was kicked, and it was an own goal. And Spain wound up winning that game. But that's the first thing I thought of because I was like, just a brutal own goal on a pass back to the keeper. But this was completely different because a little different in that the goalie could have and should have settled this thing and instead
Yes.
decided to trip over his own feet and the grass
If
and
this
fall on his face.
if this offers one group of people any solace at all, it's that George Mason, women's soccer, you can score without registering a shot.
That's good. That's right, Zach. I mean, that's, if you want to be efficient, this is all
You
you need.
just got to pressure the goalie into an own goal. Um, Shots on goal were 15 slew to Loyola 6. Of course, the would be 16th shot that was the goal. Uh, Shots on goal 5-3 Billikens. Fouls were 14-7 Loyola. Loyola had 3 yellow cards. How many points were deducted from Gryffindor for that stumble?
I don't think, I think they would have restarted after that, man. I mean, that would have wiped the slate clean.
Oh my gosh. SLU is now 4-0-1, as I said, in their last 5 games. Rhode Island up next on the 5th. Fordham on the 8th. Reminder that Fordham is pretty good for comparatively speaking. Rhode Island not so much. They're bringing up the rear in conference, but we'll get into that. By the way, Dayton and Duquesne are both now ranked. This has to be one of the strongest years for Atlantic 10 soccer, Pete.
Yeah, it really does. Dayton's up to number 19 in the United Soccer Coaches poll. Duquesne cracked the top 25 at number 24. So SLU may be down a little bit from last year, but the rest of the conference looks a little stronger. The Bills don't play Duquesne in the regular season, but they do head to Dayton on October 22nd for the soccer Arch Baron Cup. So that'll definitely be one to watch. And then, Duquesne could always be lurking in the conference tournament, depending on how things shake out. Both of them are 2-0-1 in conference. SLU is 1-0-1. So, we'll kind of see how things develop. But Dayton is 8-0-1 overall. 7-1-2 is Duquesne's record. LaSalle's in third right now with a record of 2-1. Fordham, first set of Rams here, 1-0-2. Like I said, SLU's 1-0-1. Just a couple of games in hand or a game in hand, I should say, on some of these teams. St. Joe's 1-1. UMass has 3 ties. And then you get into a bunch here. Loyola, George Washington, Davidson, George Mason are all 1-2. VCU 0-0 and 2 ties. They still have not won on the year, and have played a brutal schedule. Rhode Island 0-1-1. Bonaventure, as in the women's standings, 0-3, last place.
Oh man, they're brown for a reason. Pete, let's move on over to volleyball. A 3-0 win, or they start the conference season off really nicely. They're 12-4 overall and now 4-0 in conference. Pete, run us down their weekend against George Mason.
Yeah, two pretty commanding wins here. 3-0, 3-0. The first one on Friday the 30th. 25-17, 25-18, 25-10. Hankin, Mattingly, and Hill had 10 kills apiece in this one. Opperly had 32 assists. Rogers 10 digs. Slew had 13 aces in this one to 0 from George Mason. Love to see that. And then
It's
the next
bizarre. Hold on, it's bizarre how much stock they put in aces. Like for whatever reason they're just good at like serving, but nothing else. Like I don't get this team at all.
regardless, I kind of like
Yeah.
that stat.
No, it's nice to see, but I just
Yeah.
don't get it.
Yeah. 3-0 was the win on the next day, Saturday the 1st against Mason. 25-17, 25-23, 25-12 this time. So technically a little bit closer, but more of the same mostly. Hill had 14 kills now. As you said, Slew's 12-4 overall, 4-0 in conference, which puts them technically in a three-way tie for first, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, guys, I'm not. I don't root for this team to lose. I just don't care anymore. Like it's apathy. Like they've played what they played George Mason, and who was the first one against was it Duquesne,
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. So look, you played four of the bottom or two of the bottom four in George
Mhm.
Mason and Rhode Island. Um, this conference is not. This it is still possible for this team to finish fifth. Like Dayton and VCU are historically the top two teams in this conference. SLU is historically the third in recent history anyway. Davidson and Loyola Chicago is coming in with a great pedigree out of the Missouri Valley. Missouri Valley is a better volleyball conference, and they do extremely well in that conference. Davidson is looking really good this year. They've got a coach that's been there forever, which is surprising that they're all of a sudden 10-5 overall and 4-0 in conference. But the SLU could very well still finish fifth in this, and that would be their lowest finish in a long, long time. Looking ahead, though, like I mentioned, Loyola Chicago, we'll find out Tuesday. That'll be the first big test of the conference season.
Yeah.
George Washington on the 7th and 8th, not such a big test. But running down the standings, the Billikens, again, like you said, in a three-way tie for first. They're at 12-4 overall, 4-0 in conference. Davidson sitting at 10-5 overall, 4-0 in conference. Loyola Chicago 10-7 overall, 4-0 in conference. VCU 3-1 in conference, 8-8 overall. Dayton 8-9 overall, 2-2 in conference. I've got to look into that. I'm sure they played a really tough schedule, but that is not like them at all.
Well, I just looked at this because with VCU in fourth and Dayton in fifth, you would think like, okay, well, they've played each other. You know, that's a little
Right.
cannibalization right there. If SLU, Davidson, and Loyola are the undefeated teams, but actually they haven't.
Yeah.
The weird thing is, who am I looking at right now? Dayton beat Fordham twice to open the season and then lost to Davidson 3-0, 3-1.
I know.
Um,
Davidson, I mean, that's a shocking
yeah.
result.
And then VCU has not played the top few teams yet either.
Right.
They split with Mason and then beat Rhode Island twice, as SLU did. So I do think there's also the fact that those teams appear to be down a little bit. You know, I mean, they're not quite what
Yeah.
they were this year. As you said, they're both kind of floating around 500, not just in the league, but overall.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their schedule, Dayton's schedule, Cincinnati, Florida State, those are two very good teams.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona State, historically, the Pacific programs have been good. Georgia Tech, number 5, Georgia Tech. I mean, Missouri State's decent. Illinois is decent. Illinois is number 25, in fact. But then you have losses to Wright State, Wichita State. I mean, those are okay programs, but like you can't lose in your own state. I think to a smaller school, even if it is a state school. So it is interesting to see. I want to look into, their coaching staff if they did make a coaching change. I'm not sure. It's weird. That's Tim Horseman. No, I think this guy's been there. Yeah, this guy's been there for 10 years now. So as a head coach, so definitely, a guy who's been around for a while.
13 years.
Yeah. Well, he's been there as an assistant.
Okay.
And then was 10 years as head coach. But yeah, this volleyball season is interesting in the A10. Definitely different than normal. So we'll see how it goes. If SLU can do well Tuesday night, I think that bodes well for the rest of the season. I'll be paying attention to that on ESPN Plus. Field hockey, Pete, 3-0 loss at VCU on Friday the 30th. VCU had one goal in each of the first three quarters. They outshot SLU 16-2, 10-1 on goal. 3-1 loss at Towson on Sunday the 1st. Towson had a goal in each of the second and third and fourth quarters. SLU scored in the last minute. 21-15 shots for Towson. Shots on goal, 12-6 Towson. Penalty corners, 11-9 Towson. Friday the 7th will be at Lock Haven, which is actually A10 for field hockey. Pete, run us down the cross country.
SLU ran at the Loyola Lakefront Invitational on September 30th. The men came in fourth, pretty good overall. Toby Gillen made his cross country debut. Go back and listen to his interview on the pod from a few months ago.
That's what we call synergy, Pete.
That's right. He finished with his first ever 8K time of 25:19, good for 15th overall. So even though he's adjusting to the cross country thing, I think he's got potential over there. The women finished in 9th, and Carly Sear was their top finisher, coming in 22nd with a time of 22:20. Next up for cross country is the Weiss Crockett Invitational at Oklahoma State on October 15th.
The Weiss Crockett is such an Oklahoma name. Swimming and diving followed up on last weekend, which results hadn't been published yet. The women went 3-2. Men went 2-2 at the Butler double duels. Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah.
The Billiken women defeated Butler 134-67, Bellarmine 135-66, and Eastern Illinois 141-60 fell to IUPUI. I think that's just Indiana University at Indianapolis now.
Not yet.
Not yet.
It will be.
108-93 was the loss, and then the loss to Xavier 124-77. Billiken men topped EIU 150-50, Bellarmine 141-60, defeated by IUPUI 111-89. And Xavier 132-69. Nice. Hosted Bellarmine and Umsel on the first. Men beat Bellarmine 148-71 and lost to Umsel 123-103. Women defeated Bellarmine 174-52 and Umsel 151-75. Next, October 7th at Truman State. Pete, anything before we get out of here?
Yeah, the one thing I want to draw people's attention to, I'm always looking ahead at stuff like this. Very quietly over time, the basketball schedules are starting to populate with game times. So if you're looking for any travel, timing, flights, accommodations, anything like that, keep an eye on the schedule. I actually checked in on it 2 or 3 times this week, and every time I did, they had additional game times listed. So as those are filling out over the course of the year, it's just kind of, I don't know, one more thing for me to kind of get excited about. I always have to line it up with the Xavier basketball schedule because my wife has season tickets. And if there's a Xavier home game that coincides with a SLU game, it's usually bad news for me because I'm at home juggling 2 kids trying to figure out how to get them to bed while watching a SLU game. But anyway, that's purely selfish reasons. For everybody else, I know, just go check the game times as they're coming out, and hopefully schedules work out favorably this year.
Yeah, I'm hoping you're able to make it into St. Louis. We can get a live another live episode like we did last year, perhaps.
Yeah, that'd be great. I don't know yet what weekends are in play. And Thanksgiving might look like one where we're in St. Louis and we know they're going to be down in Auburn weekend.
We'll get a photographer and do some professional glamour shots for the pod.
There we go. We'll head out to that Sears portrait studio.
We'll put
I'll
on
have a hand on your shoulder,
oh,
couple of turtlenecks,
and in the background, like a ghosted version of each of us.
looking to the side.
We'll do a Christian rock band cover art, just looking off into the distance. But no, but it's at the dolphin pond. We're standing in the dolphin pond.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Oh God. Actually,
yeah, but it's got to be like airbrushed in a way that it's like we're not there necessarily.
Yes,
okay.
I love it. All right, well, that wraps up the week that was in Billiken Athletics. Follow us on all social media. Twitter at Midtown Mad Pod, at Peter is a tweeter, at Zach Miller MMP, and on Instagram at Midtown Mad Pod. We, of course, appreciate any and all suggestions. Our DMs are always open, so feel free to reach out to us. Please go subscribe to the show. If you haven't left a review, do that as well. 5 stars, please. And drop 5 stars if you got some criticism or constructive criticism to drop. Do that too. As always, Pete, go Bills.
Go Bills.